Hey folks, I appreciate you taking your time to check out our stream. And first, I want to start with an apology. We got the video wrong this time again. Hopefully, the third time will be on point. So, this is my OBS. The guys, if you're watching this and you're an OBS guru, let me know where am I making a mistake in my settings, because somehow my video is always lagging on the stream. So, let me know where could I be making mistakes. I was expecting something to do with bitrate, somewhere between the bitrate and the FPS stuff. Let me know. I'm not into much guru into this stuff, but I'm learning. So we learn and we go. So once again, sorry for the video that was lagging for the guys who are on live. Yes, so thankfully enough, Google Meet recording came to our rescue. So we have a good video that is pretty okay that we did capture through Google Meet recording. And this is what we have and you're going to watch. And it was a wonderful discussion with my friend Clement. Very nice. We always short of time. I would like to do 4 hours podcast or 6 hours like those that I listen to. But I'll get there. Once we get some time and some money, we can do this. But for now, we're doing 1 hour, quick ones. Sometimes you'll see us going over stories quickly. And we're sorry for that. But I look forward to a time when we just sit back and discuss and talk about stuff. But this session was really wonderful. We talked about so many things about his childhood, how he came up, how he came to know computers, how at their home they got a desktop computer before buying a TV. So wonderful stories that I like to hear. How he manages his time, how he's still struggling and trying to get it right, but he's pushing on because it's all about getting it done. And we talked about how he's worked on 2 recordings of his EP, a song called Sema, which I'm going to link on this description. Sema, and the other one is is a French title. I don't want to massacre the title, but you're gonna look it out on the description. So he's a musician, an accomplished musician, so to speak, and also an accomplished software engineer. Look forward for this discussion. It's gonna be nice. Hopefully you enjoy it as I did. I will quickly introduce my guest, but I want him to. I want you to hear from the, as I said, from the horse's mouth. But for me, I just say a little bit of how I know him. He's a good friend of mine. Clement, I think I met him first when I used to have a startup which is still there called Kazi Plus. I used to interview for other companies. So if you're a company looking for a developer, you talk to me. I do sort of a headhunting, or I post it on my platform, which is Kazi Plus, and people apply, and then I pick a few guys, the top guys from some rubric that we are following, and then I interview them. So Clement was one of the guys that he just sounded a bit out there, like a bit different. Like I actually, like, first the name is interesting, and then that time code challenges are not really a thing. I think we're not doing a lot of code challenges in companies. Whether you go there, they'll give you some project, take home project. Yeah, but so I gave him a question, and the way he answered, I felt like, wait, this person is a bit different. And from there, we just connected. You ended up not going for that company, I think, right? But I think we stayed in touch. So I knew that you're different. That's way back before you were at Microsoft or whatever company. So I think you're just in call like that time. So I'm really glad when I have those kind of connections that are long running. Yeah, and of course I know I don't tell people so much, but I know your colleagues, and all the time in the hallways. We also play together in the band at work. So and I like it, just you as a friend and someone that we have come to know for a long time. So just the drill how we start. So just tell us about yourself, just generally about yourself, and then we'll go into like your journey to tech.
So generally, okay, my name is Clement or Clément. Actually, Clément is a canonical name. Clement is the translation. I'm a software engineer by profession and by passion, you would say. Also, I saw that you had written on the poster recording artist. I was like, what? When did I become a recording artist? But also a musician. Yeah, I guess at the moment those are kind of like the things that I've put out there. So maybe that will come out in time.
Yeah, actually, like a recording artist, you are an artist and you record. So I know you're not on a record label. Actually, I should say an independent recording artist. You're independent, which is like the highest honor you can ever get, as opposed to being in a label where you're tied. Anyways, so guys on the stream, I hope you're getting us okay. Let me just know. I'll be looking at the chat sideways. If you see any problem or any problem with the stream, I need to correct that immediately before it gets out of hand. So nice. So Clément, so tell us. Actually, you said canonical. I like that. Like the canonical should be Clément. That's how actually you pronounce it, right? Because it's French, right?
Yeah.
So Clément. Okay, good. So Clément, so your journey to tech, right from the beginning, like when did you first meet computers, or you ever heard of like wanting to go into this stuff, and how you ended up here?
Okay, actually, my first interaction with computers was when I was I think around 7 years old. So where we used to live, we didn't have, okay, at first we didn't have like these gadgets like TVs or equipment. So we used to go to a place like the kids of the estate. We used to go to some guy who used to sell access to their home computer for us to play games. So we just go there and play like Prince, the MS-DOS version of Prince of Persia, the 2D one, or Dangerous Dave, Galactica, such games. And then at some point, my dad bought like a home computer. So we had like a desktop before we had a TV. So that was like our primary, now as the kids, our primary mode of entertainment. So we just started getting glued to the TV, to the computer. Mostly it was just gaming. But that kind of sparked my interest in computers. But it's not until I was 16 or so that I started getting interested in programming. And so by that time, I was kind of interested in computers, but more like just learning about how hard disks work, like difference between FAT32 and then TFS and SATA and the other one, I forgot what the other one. Just those high level technical details, or like yeah. But I used to play games. I used to be a gamer. So
anymore, you tell us why you
yeah, I got
retired.
interested. So I wanted to know like how do you actually make games? So I started getting ideas of like maybe I could make a game. So at that time, actually, I used to write comic books as a hobby when I was like a teenager. So I wanted to turn those comic books into games. So what I used to do, I used to have a booklet where I would draw like, let's say, the protagonist in different poses, like standing or like with one leg forward and then the other leg forward, just assuming that this could be used to simulate walking. So I used to wonder, like, what can I use such that if someone presses this arrow key, it will replace this image with this other image and move this character forward. So I was looking for that thing, but I didn't know what it was.
Wait, and that is sorry for I'll be cutting you short a bit because I have not come with my pen. So that's at what age?
Pardon?
That's at what age?
So that's around when you're doing that. Around 15, between maybe 15, 16, with maybe 14 to 16, that age group, age range.
Nice. So, and it's interesting how you already do like at the fundamentals or the foundations of how we do animation, right? But you're already thinking about them like without even knowing.
Yeah, so because the intuition I had was that a computer is that I didn't know how it worked, but I felt like this is a dumb object, like it can't be smart, because I just had the intuition that whatever it does, someone had to tell it what to do. So I couldn't imagine a computer imagining how someone walks. Like someone would have to tell it how to walk, how to go from this movement to this movement. So I just didn't know what that thing was. I didn't know that thing was programming or what programs were. So, and then I used to ask people, so I want to make a game, like this is where I'm stuck. I don't know how to do it. And then like at that time, I didn't know many people who were like highly technical, who know the details. So some guys used to tell me things like, create a file. Like games have .exe extensions. So you just create a file and give it a .exe extension. So I'd go home and create like a new text file and then give it a .exe extension, and then like thought that would make things editable just by renaming it. Yeah. So I tried those such things. I even tried. I think this is a tip I got from some blog post that I had come across, where I tried to use PowerPoint. So in PowerPoint, like you could you could have these rules, like from slide 10 go to slide 20 when someone pressed this arrow key. So I would try to create like a game like that's like a quiz game, like this is a question and these are answers. So if there's a slide with answers, and if you maybe press A to slide 10, which is like a game over because you have the wrong answer. But when you try to do that, like with let's say a character that has to walk or jump, like there's no way to say like if someone press this, do this. Like there's no way to I still didn't know how to collect that state that I can use to control things based on certain conditions. It's only, I think, a few years later, after not having made any progress, that there's a friend of my dad, actually it's a close family friend, who had come to visit, and he came with his son. Now his son was actually like very knowledgeable about computers, like those computer gurus. And I told him about the things I've been trying to do, and he's like, "Are you sure to tell out?" And he told me a lot about computers, and they told me, "This I've been trying to build a game, and we tried PowerPoint, and I've got stuck." And like, if you want to make a game, you don't use PowerPoint, you use a programming language. I was like, programming language. Language is how you tell computers what to do. You give them instructions. It's how you create programs. And then he told me, like, gave me this list of programming languages that he knew all, like VB, C#, C++. He just mentioned them. And then I think I wrote them down. I think I remember what stayed in my mind was like VB. So at that time, we didn't have like internet access at home. So we used the internet to go to a cyber cafe. So every time I'd go to a cyber cafe, I'd search like VB. And then we used to have like, I think I was using Yahoo Answers. I don't know if Yahoo Answers still up.
Yeah,
so I think I remember asking, how do I get VB? and then someone answered like you can install Microsoft Visual Studio. I think at that time maybe it was the 2005 or 2008 edition, one of those two editions. And then I downloaded it. I was so excited. When I get home, I try to install. Like I just downloaded the downloader. I downloaded the installer. So I need internet to actually install it. So that's so frustrating. And those I didn't know how to install the actual thing without internet. So what I did the next time I got a cyber cafe, I think I tried to download some books. There were like some books called like Visual Basic for very bright kids and C# for sharp kids. So I tried to read that, but I don't have the IDE, so I don't really understand the concept. I just try to write them in Notepad, but I'm not really getting, like, they're talking about return statements and classes. They try to break it down, but I just couldn't visualize these concepts. Until at some point where I got hand of something called a language called Small Basic, which is like a language meant, and this was small enough that I could download it at a cyber cafe and go home and install it. And it came with a PDF, and that was like my first foray into programming. Like, wow, it was so exciting. It's like when I found like it had variables, it had arrays, it had if statement. For me, the if statement was like, this is the thing I've been looking for.
When you're doing those games and doing the quiz stuff.
Yeah, because now
like the PowerPoint,
say, if this happened, do this. if you in this state, do that. So for me, the if statement was like a light bulb. Well, like this is it. I finally found. So I went through that book. I think they had one of the exercises in that book was to create a Pong game. So I think I remember writing a game, though, like the trigonometry, like I was a bit nipoteza kidogo, but at least I managed to build that game. Then eventually I got access to a library where my mom worked, where they had internet access, and I was able to go there. Like my mom took me there in the morning, and I just spent the whole day. Like there's actually like an offline installer for Visual Studio. I think at this point it was Visual Studio 2008, because I think a few years had passed since I had heard of VB. So I managed to download the entire Visual Studio 2008 offline installer, and then I went home and then I went home and installed it. The thing was like 600 MBs, I think, or 6 or 7 MBs, but it took a whole day to download. and that was like fast internet because it was faster than what you could get at Cyber Cafe, but it still took like a whole day from morning to evening to download this 700 MB file. Yeah, so now with that, I started learning VB. The reason I started learning VB was because like the way if you started Visual Studio at that time, listed the languages in that order: Visual Basic, Visual C#, I think Visual C++, and Visual Web, or something like that. So I didn't know which one to learn, so I just started with the first. I used to download videos from internet. So back then also, we still didn't have internet access at home. So what I used to do, like Safaricom used to have this modem. Where you could have a SIM card and then you could plug it into your computer and then you get internet. So I used to buy like
they have USB, like a USB.
Yeah. So they used to have this offer. I think for 200 shillings you get internet for a day. So I think I'm one of the guys who abused that offer to the point that they canceled it because I used to buy that, and then I'll just have torrents and videos downloaded overnight. So download like videos from YouTube. I think I used to watch videos from this guy called Bucky. I don't know if he still makes YouTube. But the new Boston, I don't know if you know that channel. It was one of the OG YouTube tutorial channels for programming. And then like download stuff from lynda.com before it became
Lynda, yes. So, it was bought by LinkedIn.
So hey, man, I torrented those things once. I hope they I think they can forgive me. I'm just snitching myself. Yeah, so downloaded, and that's when I used to download them. And then once I have them on my computer, I would watch them. I think also learned a lot from this guy, from this guy, like absolute beginner series for Visual Basic, but from a guy called Bob Tabo. I don't know if he still makes videos. I remember like some guy called Kevin Skoguland. That's where I learned PHP. From this also from Nandaa as well. I learned JavaScript, and then I learned Python from MIT OpenCourseware. So actually, and Udacity, so Udacity back then used to have free courses. So so I was learning all this stuff, trying to build like some random side projects just as I was learning, like a library. I remember like one day my dad was asking me some stuff about, like, was trying to find certain words in dictionaries that meet certain criteria. So I had a program that would scrape the Collins online dictionary, looking for words within like you'd give it a range, let's say M to N, and then it will look for words within those ranges. And then if it finds a word that meets certain criteria that my dad was interested in, it would like add them to some list. So that I think I just made a bunch of programs, but the Udacity and MIT open source open OCS is what really introduced me now to the foundation of computer science. So that's why they started, because now that their courses had more theoretical. That's where they talked about, like, grammars, parsers, and Turing machines, and complexity analysis, algorithms, data structures. So I kind of learned those from those spaces. And then I think I was kind of doing this for like 2 years. And then I was like, man, I'm just learning on my own in my room. Like, I don't know what real software engineer or what real programmers do. So I kind of feel like I don't know if I'm doing this right. I want to know what others do. So a friend of mine, a former classmate, was working at a like event management company. So one day when I was at a wedding, they were actually doing the event management for that wedding, like the video, the all management. And I found him there, and I asked him, "Hey, you're part of the crew?" "Yeah, I work at this company." And I asked him, "Do you guys do web or programming?" He said, "Yeah, we actually have like a web agency as well as part of the company." So like, "Hey, I'm interested. Like, I've been learning, and I want to get like some real world experience." He told me, "Yeah, the CEOs over there, you can go talk to him." So I went and talked to him. He told me, "Come on Monday." I went to their offices on Monday. They interviewed me. They told me, "Hey, if you don't have money for at the moment, maybe we can just be giving you like some transport allowance. But yeah, I think we've got you can join our web team." So that was like my first real programming job. I didn't do much for the first like month or two there. I was just like trying to learn stuff. What they're using Joomla and stuff like that. I didn't real thing to do because most of it was done by their web designer, their in-house web developer. But then they had this other project that came in from some I think it was like some international organization, a research organization. They do like research in economics and politics across Africa. So they wanted like a system to manage like their research papers, their researchers, their review process, their granting, how they grant research, and that was handed to me to do. So I worked on that for the first 3 months, and then I think the first 3 months after working on that, when I joined university. Yeah, so luckily I was able to go to university having already have like some 2 years programming experience.
Yeah, nice.
But now the challenge was now balancing university and this freelance stuff. I worked with that agency for a few years. That project was major scope creep. I think I thought that I think at some point I wrote it from scratch because as I was learning new things, I realized that my code was becoming unmaintainable. So halfway through, I rewrote it based on like some courses I had watched. I think I had watched this course in university about web development, and it was from the co-founder of Reddit. And to me, that really opened my eyes about how to think about web. Because back then I was just using like PHP, spaghetti, like mixing PHP and HTML, with the templates. So based on what the way he presented that course, I think I just rebuilt the project from scratch, and I kind of wrote like a micro framework based on the framework that he was using. I just wrote like a framework that looked like what he was using to teach, and that's kind of, I think that's when that's like turning point when I started caring about architecture and starting to understand actually architecture. Before then I had learned about object-oriented. I even had heard of MVC, but I could not really grasp them. I think it's until I had written code that was spaghetti, and I saw, like, I went to this course that I kind of refactored it. It felt natural. It started making sense. Like even now, I think after that, I read like a Java book, and now I was able to understand polymorphism, what you mean by polymorphism, because before then I had just had OP principle, I don't know, inheritance, polymorphism and whatnot, but I had never understood what polymorphism means. They say, you can have many forms. It comes from the Greek and morph, which means form. So blah blah blah. Like, okay, I can read these words and they make sense.
What does it really mean?
Yes, I don't know. So that was also a turning point. After campus, then a couple other freelance projects while I was in campus, and they're really frustrating me because they took a lot of time. They made it like they kind of didn't give it enough room to do my own personal project that I was also excited to do and learn about. So I kind of always have to fight balancing between different things, and the money sucked. Like they sucked. Like wow, it really sucked. Like I think there's one project where I was paid like 30K, but the project lasted 3 years. And the other project paid like 40K, and the project lasted 8 months. So, you know, those things, like these things are supposed to last, 1 month or 3 months, but then the scope never ends. And at that time, I felt like, yeah, and at that time I felt like, because I was still new, I felt like, if I tell I can do this, this cannot be done in 3 months, I feel like I'm exposing my incompetence. It's like maybe I'm the one who's not good, and I don't want them to think I'm not good, so let me just do my best. And it's only it's actually a couple of years later because some of these projects were handed to other people, and sometimes they contacted me asking me about those projects, and when I tell them about it, when I talk to them about it, that's when I realized that this thing was huge. This thing should not have. This thing should not have been given to like one person, especially who has barely that much experience. Like some of them asked me, like, "How did you do this like alone?" Because I didn't know that I was not supposed to be able to do this alone, because I was under pressure not to disappoint these people.
But I strongly believe those things that you do, like I just let you tell your story without even interrupting you until now, but just to even tell the audience that I could go just straight to telling you stuff, but you need to understand the context where someone is coming from. Like even me hearing those stories, I'm hearing them for the first time, so I'm learning them because those things are the ones that make us who we are. Like all those experiences, and you have to count yourself lucky, because not everyone gets those experiences. Many people go through campus and then they just graduate and they start now tarmacking. But you are so lucky to start working in campus. But you've talked about balance, which I wanted actually to go back to it actually, because it's gonna be even in our main discussion today, balancing, pursuing this excellence in software craftsmanship, and then also other things. And of course, it looks like even uni already was preparing you for that, because you're doing gigs outside, and then you also have your school work. Just tell me also, how did you hack that? Like, because also that's another struggle. Myself, I will tell my story, but let me just hear your story first.
Honestly, I always feel like I didn't do as well as I could have, because they like so school work was mostly okay, though it wasn't like, because I had already some programming experience. Of course, like it's always stressful, especially with exams and cards. So I didn't do as well as I would have. Like I feel like I could have done better than what I did at school, especially in the latter half, because I think the latter half of school I also started getting into like entrepreneurship stuff, like going to hackathons, meeting with other universities, doing stuff like that, which even added to the load. And I was also had also my own personal learning outside of school, like Coursera, Udacity, and my own personal project that I wanted to try out to learn things, or to put into practice a thing I was learning in school. And then these are the gigs. So I don't know, like it was just always stressful. Like it was always stressful because I don't know if I hacked it, because I always feel the pressure. Like I always feel like but I can't keep it. I can't maintain it. Like I say, I'll do this thing from 5 to 6, but 5 or 6, I've barely done anything. Like what I'm tired. But also, those are mostly the only things I did. I didn't usually go out a lot at school. I did I was somewhat part of like the choir, but I rarely. I was just like to I think the praise and the worship was just going to play without rehearsing that much.
And but then let me just even just cut you short on that, because if you look at like you look at all that experience, you're always on the run basically. And I can see so many parallels. My life at yours, like, because mine also in campus was that where when people were doing parties and all that. For me, it was either I'm at the CU Christian Union, or I'm gigging with another company called Web Tribe or Jumbo Pay in town, or I'm sleeping. When sleeping was really small, like maybe I think those are the days we could pull all-nighters even even 48 hours,
Yeah.
just some small sleep. But these days you cannot do that. But you can see that I think if I look back like on your life, I can see that you're utilizing your time, like, because now it's making you not invest in things that yes, they're good. You going socialize other campus guys with the clubs and all that, right? Having a good time, it's good. But what then? Yes, you had a good time, and of course you're saying you're making like connections and making to know people. But then what then can you do after that? But all whatever you are doing now, you have something to show. Like just by you right now, where you are right now, and what you're doing, it's because of all those things that you used to do. So maybe if there's some campus folks who are watching this, yeah, don't waste your campus life. And actually, I was planning to do some other some series of just saying warm words for the worried undergraduates. But yeah, the series coming up, like just telling like what stories can we tell these guys not to waste their campus life. Because once you're out here again now, which now I want us to transition to, now you're out here, you think that maybe life is gonna be better. Still, if you're like you like chasing dreams, still it's like the same run, right? So let me hear like now tell me just like right now where you are, like we just fast forwarding.
Yeah, so fast
I know
forward.
you're a recording artist. As I said, you keep saying you're not a recording artist, but I told you you're just an artist that records, so you're a recording artist who is independent. And then you also do some other stuff. You build your hobby, some hobby projects that you work on, and then you have your day job.
Mhm.
So just looking back, like I know it's hard to say you've mastered it, or you've mastered the art of just balancing all this. But what can you say? What are some of the reflections you can say from that?
Okay. Maybe to answer the question, like sometimes I also like to think of life, my journey as phases. Like for example, the music I do now was I started getting interested in music before programming. But when I started learning programming, like especially those 2 years I told you about, like it became overwhelming and consuming. Like I had to cut out a lot of stuff. Like I had to cut out my gaming. So ironically, the gaming that got me into programming died as a result of my interest in programming. And I also had to cut out, like I used to be like, especially when I went to started campus, I kind of cut out like my music practice time. I reduced like considerably how much I did music, and I cut out my other hobbies like comics, like that one almost died completely. So I felt like I went through this phase when I was focusing on school and programming and mostly and a bit of music here and there. But I was suppressing these passions, and then I went to job. Then I think even when I was doing when I started full-time job, I also started my master's, and I had to suppress these sort of passions. When I finished my master's, I said, okay, now this phase of my life is done. So right now, to focus now on building my stuff, my own things, and so that's when I started. Now I'm going to take music seriously. So it's actually when I finished like my master's, my final master's exam. I think 2 weeks later, I enrolled in a Coursera thing on production, music production.
Wow,
Like
interesting. The specialization, right? I didn't know
Yeah.
that, but I've never finished. I started off and then I dropped off.
I also don't think I finished either, but at least it gave me some of the principle about what goes into music production.
Nice.
Yeah, so at least to formalize some of the things I know. So I started music. I had these songs that I had written in the past when I was younger, when I was a teenager, when I still was like passionate in music, that I wanted now to explore again. I wanted to start writing music. So of course I needed to find time for it. But now that I was done with masters, at least I could create time for music. But also had been working on startups for, I guess since I finished campus, I was trying to do a startup, and that thing had been a spectacular failure. Up to that point, even up to now, I don't know. Still, the jury is still out on whether it has been a success or not. So I don't know. I don't know. It's hard to say the balance, because I feel like every year I keep revisiting my strategy and saying, okay, this is what I was thinking of doing last year, and this is how much I achieved. Yes, I made progress here, but I think this is not working out, and this is something I really want to work. So what can I do to improve this? And so some of the practical things I've done and I've been tweaking is just like one of the things that has had the biggest impact is to start my day early. Yeah, so start my day early. Then when I leave work, I feel like what I've done today is what I could have done today. As opposed if I start my day late and I leave work, I think the things that I didn't do, I'll feel like I need to finish them. But if I started
carrying the work home.
Yeah, carrying the work home. So, but if I start my day early, then I feel like even the things that I did not really finish, it's because it cannot have been finished in one day. It's not enough time. So I have less pressure to carry work home. So which means now, of course, there are those exceptions, like sometimes we're on call, sometimes like there's this urgency that requires like me to block out anything else and maybe to work till midnight for the whole week. But like when in the common case, in the happy path, I mean, use that spherical cows in a vacuum scenario. That ability of being able to leave work, like feeling that contentment that I've done, I've given a decent, honest effort in today's work, that I don't have to work home. Now allows me, at least it creates that space where when I get home,
and jump onto some
stuff. Now the thing,
and also just to before you go to the next point, just to interject you was that we really underrate what you can do. Like if you're there and you're not a morning person, you keep saying you're not a morning. There's not like you're not a morning person. It's just even me. I've swung between being an I sleep late and then wake up tardy and late, and now I do a lot of early waking up early. But between those two, I think the latter is the best. You really underrate that time that is just quiet and you can just focus and your mind is clear and you can do stuff. Versus working late when you're tired and you're just trying to survive on coffee. Or the other one also is like you're getting the best of two worlds. You got the office early. You're almost like the whole place is like your cubicle. So people keep complaining about open workspaces. You have a whole cubicle in the morning up to 9 a.m. when people are checking in. That's when you sort of now are in open working spaces, which again, people will not want to be interrupting you at 9 a.m. Maybe people start talking maybe at 11. When you're already done with 6 hours straight, like solid work, 6 hours by 11 a.m. And then the rest is just maybe it's meetings and all that, and then you close your day. So I think for me also that process has worked for me like very well, and I can't trade it for anything. Yeah, but go on.
Yeah. So the other thing is Now the other thing is, but once I'm home, how do I balance the startup projects and music? That's also a challenge that I also keep revisiting every year. So this year, what I'm trying to do, which is different from last year, where it was a bit less organized. This year, so far, what I've been trying to do is on the weekdays, I work on the startups. So the weeknights, I work on the startups. On the weekends, technically, I'm supposed to be working on music, but so far, I've still been working like most of the weekend I've been working on the startup, and then a few hours on the music. And it's because I've been like trying to learn something, so I've been like, yeah. But also one adjustment I've made is like I also start my day early on the weekend. Last year I was on the weekend. I was like, hey, manze, let me not put too much pressure on myself on the weekend. So I'll just wake up when I wake up. So I was waking up like at 8 or 10, and then starting doing stuff at 12. Like the whole morning, I have nothing to account for the whole morning. But at least now now this year, this adjustment I've made is like I consider my weekends as weekdays, and that has unlocked like having a full morning to on Saturday feels different than having a full night on Friday after work.
Yeah, I see. And it's so interesting how you're unlocking so many hours in your time, because normally you say like, let me people calling sleeping in, like on a weekend, like let me sleep in, and maybe let me just back up. I said something like there's nothing like you're not a morning person, but I didn't actually qualify that. It's because you can actually become a morning person in terms of just try sleeping early. So maybe even try this, like they say habits form, they say normally say around 21 days or some 3 weeks there, but try this and let me know if it doesn't work. If you say you're not a morning person, you're not taking coffee, so you're not taking coffee after maybe 2 p.m. So you're not having a hard time to sleep, because coffee sometimes can make you, depending on how your system works, can make you either have very light sleep or have a hard time to sleep. Then you're taking your supper very early, maybe by 6 or 7, or even you're not taking a very light supper. So you're sleeping a bit of like half stomach, right? And then let me know whether you'll not be up by 5 a.m. because first, if for me, I always say it's either the hunger is the one that will wake you up, because it's like between the hunger and sleep, which one is greater? That time the hunger will be greater and you wake up. So for me, that's the trick I use. If I sleep early and I don't eat heavy, it's the 5 a.m. is not even a struggle. You just jump out of bed. But of course, it can become a struggle in the first time. But if you just form a habit, 21 days, I think, even 10 days, 7 days, you'll be good. Yeah. And so what I'm hearing from you, and there's something I picked out here in the notes. Time, I think, is the valuable. Time is anything that I can give you money, but you cannot do, like if I gave you even money here right now, there's nothing that you say you'll accomplish all the things that you've accomplished in the past, because first, money cannot time travel you, right? but if you can make good use of time, what I'm just hearing from you, like, of course, you can't say that you've mastered it. Even myself, I can't say I've mastered that. I'm not a time waster. I do waste a lot of time. But you can, but if you keep at it, and what I'm hearing from me is more of like the concept I had from someone about incrementalism. You're just doing things bit by bit, like you're just pushing things here. And first, I think you've taken it even a higher level. Like I did, for me, I always believe that at some point I'll release a record, but it's just a dream. But you said no. Even if it's a single, I'll release it. Then you did a single. Before you know it, you did an EP. How many songs in the EP?
So far I've released 2 songs. The other songs I've not yet released, because I did the concert thing instead.
The concert, we were just getting, us who were privileged to get like the that's now good to know. So I can hear, guys, so much more is coming. I don't know why I thought that when you came to the concert, the EP was ready. So that's really good stuff.
Actually, 2 things you have said that the other thing that this year I'm trying to be more disciplined about is sleeping, making sure I sleep early. So last year I was very disorganized in my sleep schedule, but this year so far I've been consistent in going to bed around 11 and making sure I sleep by midnight. So that has helped me at least consistent even on the weekends. That was like the missing piece for me, being consistent in the weekends. The other thing that you mentioned is like not discipline. Like I'm not always disciplined. You see this like a template, but I don't like I'm actually very I look back and sometimes I feel like I've wasted so much time. I'm not disciplined here, and what I think that people maybe don't realize when they ask me how I do this is like it actually takes me a long time to do this. Like yeah, so last year I had a plan to release like 4 to 6 songs. I only released 2. I had other projects that I want to release, and I didn't release, but people don't know about these things. So people only, for me, I was like, man, I didn't do this. This thing failed. This thing has not come out. This thing I didn't have yet finished. Like, but people like, hey, how did you
How
get
did you
them
do this?
like, so, and there was a release like I think Sema took 3 months to do. Mompem took 2 years to do the
What?
first that took 2 years.
I
Yeah,
didn't
but
know that myself.
how do you manage to do these things? Like you're always, but no, I'm not always doing this thing. I take times. Like I guess what I've realized is like it's good to get things done. It's the things that are done that matter.
Get it done. Get it done.
Yeah. So I think sometimes I get caught up in trying to do a lot of things, trying to I want to release this, I want to release that. But even if I manage to release just one song, actually that actually goes a long way.
You
People
celebrate, yeah.
I can celebrate the things that were done. So maybe that's also something I have to keep reminding myself. Don't try to do too much at once. Like even if just one at a time, people will not remember the 10 unfinished projects. They'll just remember the one.
The one that you finished.
Yeah,
But they're finishing, yeah. Actually,
so
I think as a creative, you end up having that tendency of doing one thing and not finishing it, because first you put a very high bar of like perfection on yourself, which is good. But for me, I always say that there's so many people who have so much things they wanted to do, but they've put a very high perfection bar. But someone actually flipped it to me one day. Actually, I think I heard it somewhere online. That actually, it is actually your ego. You are afraid for people to see that you cannot do a perfect thing. Like you're afraid to show like you're not perfect. So you just want to always, when you come out, you have this like grandiose stuff, which I think even it hurts other people who are watching us, because the guys who are coming behind us, they need to see like the struggle that we go through. They need to see the failures that we are even there used to be some stuff called fail fest. It's not there anymore, but it used to be a good thing where people just come to talk about their failures. Like you come and just give a talk about how you failed, and people celebrate failure, because failure is what makes success at the end of the day. So I think releasing something, just getting something done, just get it done. But they say perfect is the enemy of, is it, which one is good of?
It's the enemy of
which one is the enemy, yeah?
Perfect
But
is the
also, another thing that I picked up some time back was that that done is better than perfect.
Yeah.
Done is better than perfect. It's better to say, like if you go back to Sema, when you listen to it, right now, I'm sure there are things you say like, I can do a remix of Sema. I can do, which is, it means it wasn't perfect to you, even at this point that you stand, but you get it done. You got it done, and that's what really matters. And then you keep moving. So I really love that. I knew this one. I always know that we'll always run out of time. So you are right at the top of the hour, and
maybe
I know you haven't covered everything, but talk about
some of the challenges. So it's don't just see the good side. Some of the challenges of this is like maybe just accepting the fact that things will take longer than you plan for. If you I may have this plan, I want to do this year, but it's like looking back, the things I wanted to do have taken twice the time I wanted to do. Something that I thought would take me a year takes me 2. Something that I thought of doing 2 years takes me 4 years. So that's like the reality I have to live with, and it's frustrating, but it's better than not doing them. And so the other thing I struggle with is the time to learn and perfect these things. So like I want to be a better software engineer, and I have to put in the time to learn, but how do I get the time to learn? And learning in software engineering is you have to learn with practice. So maybe I have to create like experimental projects, which also are time consuming, because I have to do that on top of maybe work, on top of my startup projects. Also, like the same time, also want to be a better musician, I want to be a better guitarist. And also so I kind of also have to live with this
reality.
This reality, and there also this discomfort of being inadequate, of like I feel like I'm stagnating, I feel like I'm not as good as I'd want to be, and having to live with that. And as you say, even I think when you talk about the ego, I think it's also related, because sometimes I'm afraid even maybe to perform, or I'm afraid to gig, because I feel like I'm not good enough, I've not practiced enough. I think it's also maybe because I can like do something. You might not be as good as maybe a virtuoso, but I think that fear, I think it also maybe I don't want people to see that I suck, or I don't want people to see that I'm good enough. I think where you try to ego, I think it also makes sense. Maybe that fear or that frustration is also partly related to ego, and I think it is just being able to do something, even like don't be what I tell myself, just release even if you feel it's not good enough. At the end of the day, most of the of these things are not musicians, and most of the consumers of the tech products are not techies, they're business people. So I think it's may just but that's the struggle. The struggle is like how to can be sure that you always improve, or to appreciate that you'll make small increments, even not at the pace that you'd want, and still accepting those small increments and just making those small improvements every day. I think it's still better than not being able to do.
I really love that, because I think what you're saying is just more of like forgiving yourself as you move on, because either way, like life has to go on. So you fail here, you have not finished that project you wanted to finish, because the idea was you wanted to finish by this year, but you've been saying what you've been preaching here was that get it done. So but you didn't get it done by this year, but you're saying by next year, let me get it done. So I think you feel bad, but even myself, I think I don't want to speak from a point of like having got it. Like I hope guys know that we're just trying all these things. Like even look at our last episode that we've done, even for this stuff. It's just trying to just push stuff, not perfect, but keep going. But what I want to promise that at least every time there is an incremental good thing that we do in our whatever we are doing. So you have like we're getting better at the stuff. Like if it's this recording, we're getting better, or we're getting better at everything that we're doing. So just that daily or whatever, yearly, monthly, weekly improvement is really good. But I don't want to put away that fact that many people, actually, they say most bright folks, you have a very you have put yourself, you have a very high bar on yourself, which is good. So whenever you're doing something, maybe for you it is like 50%, and you see people are saying, "Oh, what is this? This is amazing," and you're wondering, are they bluffing or they're real for real? It's because your bar is high, and it's just good to have that high bar. But then some people put the high bar and they don't get anything done. So that's the only problem. Just put a high bar, and if you do a 50% done, that's good. Just release it. It's good. So I've loved this. Time is up, but some more questions I had for you. I was asking the viewers if they have any questions, and yes, I have to take a question from the viewer. What advice will you give? This is from Lydia Nish. What advice will you give to people who are curious about learning new skills on their own? It's a very good question.
I am tempted to say do it. And maybe this is something that probably I've seen you do best, is just do it. I think if you are curious to learn about a new skill on your own, maybe the hardest part is to know where to start, like what to start with. For example, when I was interested in programming, I didn't know where to start. Someone who pointed me in the right direction. I think even when I learned guitar, someone who kind of pointed me in the right direction. So if you know someone who does that thing, and at least can show you where to start, that may help. But if it doesn't, you can at least maybe go to online, search Google, YouTube, and you can find at least a starting point. The other thing, though, I think the biggest bottleneck is you making the time for it. So I think that matters more than anything. You making the time for it and being consistent. And by consistent, doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be 100% disciplined. Just don't drop the ball completely.
Yeah.
Course, the more consistent you are, the better. So the better results. But at least keep at it. Even if you've said, man, I haven't done this in the past 2 weeks. But don't let that mean I don't have to keep doing it. Don't let that be permanent. It's just keeping at it and being consistent. And
yes.
And now it depends on the resources. I guess the resources depend on the actual thing you're curious about. If it's something like music, like a musical instrument, if you can get the instrument, the better, so that you can be practicing at home or on your own. If you can find resources, online. I guess they say I don't, so they don't mean a teacher. The other thing I would say is, yeah, if you do things on your own, you have to be self-driven, whether it's music, whether it's programming. I think it's easier if you're passionate about the thing that you want to do.
Yes.
And maybe if you have like some milestone, like let's say, I want to be able to play this song on the guitar. So at least that gives you motivation to learn the guitar because you have this thing. Or you could just say, I like how the guitar sounds. Usually when you pick up a skill, you discover the ecosystem. You discover it's like this thing never existed. It's like, let's say I've never heard of a trombone, and then today I've never seen it. So, and then today I see someone play, and I say, okay, I'm interested in learning the trombone. All of a sudden, I'm just discovering trombone everywhere. Like, but maybe the algorithm will start showing you trombone-related content, and that discovery of the ecosystem, it kind of like influences your own goals. Like, I can actually do even things you didn't know you wanted to do. It's like, I want to play like this person. I want to be able to do this. And I think also that has the motivation.
And I think I like the point that you have to be self-driven. So, but also having a teacher brings some. The way I think is over time we have to be unschooled over time, because the way our schooling system was all about waiting for a teacher to teach you to do this. So for you to start doing stuff on your own is a bit sometimes hard, and I understand. Even myself, I struggle sometimes to do stuff on my own. But if you build some structure around stuff, so you have a teacher, you've already paid them 20 G's. I'll be coming every Saturday to learn guitar. So you wake up, you don't feel like going, but remember your money. You don't feel your money, so you have to go. And then before you know it, it becomes first you get to a place where you have to do it, and then you get to a place where you get to do it now. You so then have to do it, and then you get to do it, where it becomes now like where you get to do it and you get to love it. I love doing it even more and more. So getting a teacher is good. Gets a structure, going to a particular school for that skill, even for a short time, and then you can carry on your own. Is good. And that's why you say building habits. For me, how I build habits for myself, I put everything on my calendar. So some things I didn't end up not doing, but they become there as a guilt trap because I see it there. Like, I missed this last weekend. I did do this. Then again, I missed it. So it's just giving you feedback like, man, take this thing seriously. Are you really in for this, or should we just delete it from the calendar? And then the other thing is also learning is a social event, because if you're learning with other folks or a teacher is giving you feedback, you never know what that feedback does to you in terms of just improving your craft. Like myself, the bass I've mostly learned on my own, but of course, what has really helped me with my bass is playing in church and playing in a band. That really helped me like grow in terms of my skill, because I get feedback there. Like sometimes I play in my room and I feel like I don't like even the sound of what I'm hearing. Like, it's so boring. I don't like the sound comparing to what I'm hearing in records. And then I go to we play. I even play with you guys. You guys tell me that I'm playing well. I'm wondering, you guys, have you met the best players? Because like, but I think over time I've come to just understand that it's not like people are lying to you. It's like you are growing without you knowing that you're growing. Yeah. So I love that aspect of. So Lydia, yeah. I hope this is helpful. Let me know if that made sense to you. If you have any other additional question, we can get back to you like after the session. Yeah, but we've come to the end. I had at least the last quick fire question to go is at least you can go 15 minutes past is all good. So let's go. Your top 5 dev tools that you use, like what I call the everyday carry for a dev EDC. Go. Yeah.
I use VS Code for my as the primary editor. Okay, I wouldn't say primary, but for my own projects and even at work. At work, I mostly use Visual Studio. I use Chrome DevTools when I'm the browser DevTools when I'm doing web development. I use Visual Studio Profilers when especially when I'm doing like performance investigations. Okay, actually I use a bunch of profilers, not just visual studio, just those are the most common ones I use, but there are also others that I use less frequently. I also use tools like Bombardier and K6 for like doing load testing and stuff like that. How many are those so far?
I love the count. Go ahead. Just say your top. Yeah, the five the five could be. Oh, I thought I wanted to spin it like octal, but still, it's octal 5 is decimal 5. So there's no way I can run away from that. Okay, go ahead.
I use Git, obviously. I use the terminal, though I'm not necessarily like a terminal shell guru. I think I just use normal commands like cd, mkdir, and git. What else do I use common that no, I think those are my most common ones. Yeah,
your everyday carry. Yeah, good. So and by the way, you mentioned performance, and I know you're a big performance guy, and I want to plug in your blog. So Clement just launched his blog at last. It's been like at last he launched his blog. So please check it out, blog.hebs or blog, let me put it there, .hebs.xyz, right?
Yeah.
Yes, please check it out. He has some write-up already out. And I'm sure more, if you love performance, I'm sure you'll be writing a lot about performance, because I know you're really a performance guy, or my power performance guy. So and maybe one time I should bring you on board to just talk about performance in .NET, because it looked from your story, I didn't know I started you're in the ecosystem of VB.NET for long, like since the VB days, and then
yeah, but the thing is, I learned it, but then moved away from it. Even like I hadn't touched that ecosystem until I came back to Microsoft. So
it's so interesting. Yeah, so you went. I think you went PHP and.
Yeah, I went PHP, JavaScript, Python, and never looked back.
I then came back to ICS. Yeah, but the good thing with the brain, those things are already once you've learned, already there. Yeah. So, by the way, I've really enjoyed talking to you and knowing a lot of stuff, especially your like how you. I don't like when someone is speaking and I say, "Oh, my also like looks like my story." So I'm trying to impose my story on it, but for real, I think you are making this up. But there's so many parallels with the student mind, like how we got started with this stuff, and I love that. Many people underrate that thing of time. Like you said, one thing that I brought down here is like your dad bought a desktop computer before buying a TV. That is like amazing. And actually, maybe come to think about myself too. Like I didn't grow up with TV at home. We bought TV when I was like finishing. I already done my Form 4, I think. And actually, my dad bought for me my first computer to do the business that I was doing in the village. Actually, before we bought a TV, I think. So like interesting. but people forget that TV is a time killer. Movies, guys, just the truth is, even Netflix, they even said themselves that their competitor is sleep. Their biggest competitor is sleep. That's what they said, like some years back. So like they know it's about time. Like Netflix, movies, and all that. It's good to kick back, but guys, with time you won't buy it back. So you have to decide. Okay, if it's movies, I'll be watching on the weekend at this time. And for man, even me, I've been caught up by series. Like there's a time a series called Blacklist. Man, I couldn't like. That's the very first thing that ever caught me. Like, because me, I used to say like I'm not a movies person. I don't like watching. Then I watched Blacklist, and because I love those kind of stuff, I got into it a lot. So those things are time killers, and they can really like mess up with whatever you want to do, like skills you want to build, and you're also being good at your craft. So whatever you do with this information is up to you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Clément. Unless you have any parting shot, we can close here.
I know, just thanks for having me. It's nice. I don't know if people don't know that I looked up to you. You're one of the guys I actually look up to, and so it's actually an honor that you are that you have me on your show. Yeah, I think that day you interviewed me. It's actually, I think, was finishing campus. I was frustrated from freelance, I wanted to get like a full-time job, and you're one of the guys who interviewed me, and then we kind of had the connection. Yeah, I've always been trying to when you have a talk, I try to make sure I hear what you have to say. And when the way you approach things, like you had your startups. Now, recently, when you came here, I learned you also do music. And one of the things I like most about you, and I try and say, is I call it the philosophy of now, or AKA the Nandaa philosophy. So sometimes and this is like hard for me to like a mindset shift. Like this year is something. I mean, I'm trying to be intentional about it. Is like, do things now. What would Nandaa have done? Nandaa hii kitu angekuwa amesharelease kitambo. So that's one of the things. So for me, it's an honor to be on this doing this session with you.
Yes, but it's interesting. Also, I look up to you like so many things. Music-wise, your city engineering, like especially the stuff that you do with performance stuff. I look up to you, like, yeah, so we look up to each other, so it's good, like we are peers. So I really love it, like, but it's really awesome, by the way. So thanks so much for coming on board, and also I know you always are my co-host, so we'll be together on the next session, guys. Just an spoiler alert, we have a very nice guest coming on 22nd March, Feb, and then also we have another one on March 8th. So really good stream of folks coming. So look out, and I hope to see you. And I saw guys who were on the stream, like we're doing about 3 guys, 5. That's good. Those numbers for me, I'm good. Like when I have one person joining, is really good. I really feel good. Just one person. So we had 5, and now we have 7. Thank you so much, and please share this, like it, and let's see you next time. And God bless you.
I want you to say, please subscribe.
Try.
Please subscribe
Try.
to Blackboard.
Blackboard.
Please subscribe
Please subscribe
to Blackboard.
to Blackboard.
Good boy. Thank you so much.
Okay.